Hello lettering friend, here are 10 ways to fill your notebook for Christmas. For this video, I'll be using my Strathmore Bristol paper, the visual journal. This paper is really smooth and you can blend really well on it. And just so you know, these 10 ideas were inspired by these free Christmas worksheets that I made. It's 12 days of Christmas. I chose 5 fonts that feel really festive, and you can find that in the lettering library linked below. But let's go ahead and get started. This first one is super simple. I'm just using this monoline script called Magical Christmas. It is a free font for commercial use. You can download it yourself. It's a thick monoline font, and I used Sharpie Creative markers, the bullet tip, and Crayola markers, as well as just a thicker bullet tip, my Zig Writer pen. And just so you know, in the lettering library, there are longer real-time videos. I just snuck in a few in this video. Most people just want to see the projects. So let's get into the project. I am tracing directly from the worksheets, but this font is so simple you wouldn't have to trace it. It is very relaxing to simply trace. I don't have to worry about getting a straight baseline. And I'm using my Marvy Deco Color marker in gold. This one is hands down my favorite gold marker. It is so shiny. And because it is waterproof, it stays down so I can go over it like I'm doing here with my Crayola markers. I just wanted to add some colorful stripes to the fa la la, so it's really simple, really basic, but has that pop of color and the shine from the gold. And then I just wanted to glue it into my journal, and it's as simple as that. For this next one, I'm using my pocket-sized journal from Archer and Olive. I didn't actually record it. I was doing it as I was lettering with my kids, so I didn't have my camera out. And I'm using the Zebra Mild Liner brush pen. And on the left side of the page, I was experimenting with colors and doing the lettering a little bit. And so then I'm going to actually cover it up with this metallic paint. And this idea is very similar to the previous one. It's the fa la 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 la. This one though, I did the marker first, the colors, and then I did just a black fine tip pen and did fa la la on top. And I just wanted to show you that I was using my journal as my scratch paper, and I wouldn't even have to cover it up. I just like the gold for Christmas, so I wanted to add that into my journal. And next is this colorful and shiny Marion Bright. This font is called Santa Child, and it's also free for commercial use. Links to these fonts are all below. This one is definitely different from a regular script font where you're doing calligraphy, because this one you're actually drawing, so it's hand lettering, you're drawing your letters. So when you trace this one, it's not like you are building the muscle memory. You're just getting a feel for the shapes of each letter, and then you can either trace it into your journal or just look at the letters for inspiration as you draw it yourself by hand. I will show you how I did that at the end of this video. For this project, I'm using my Marvy Deco Color. Once again, it's the best. And I'm doing all of the letters, this gold shiny. I'm tracing the worksheets directly onto the paper that I had printed it out. And another thing that I want to add is that you might see this font and there are certain things you like about it, and maybe there's certain things you don't like. And so the point of the 12 days of Christmas with these 5 different fonts and all of these styles is for you to see what you like and you don't like, and then it can be good inspiration for you as you create new designs, different things, because there is not one right way to do any quote or one right way to design anything in your journal, and you get to come up with it yourself, and that is what makes it so magical. And so I wanted to show you that there are so many different font styles. You can come up with your own or use these, but there's no wrong way to hand letter. It's your own creativity. Next, I'm just using my Sharpie Creative markers, the bullet tip, and I did rainbow colors around these Christmas lights to make it really bright. And this is a Christmas light wreath, but you could also do a regular Christmas wreath around your quotes and your words. But I just love Christmas lights, so I really wanted to add it to one of the designs. And here I'm just adding a little bit of the silver Marvy Deco Color just for the little tips of those Christmas lights. And then once again, I am cutting it out. I'm going to show you in a little bit how you can actually trace it into your journal directly onto the page instead of doing this. I just found this to be the easiest way for me to quickly get these quotes done. This is such a busy month, but I still want to fit in my hand lettering in the tiny moments as much as I can. So anything that makes it quicker helps. Here's another one that I didn't record. I was going off of these trees for inspiration, and I used the left side of the page once again to test out some trees. That was my scratch paper right there. So my trees look different from what's in the worksheets. I was using zebra mild liner brush pens. With these markers, I like that they're kind of transparent, so you can layer other colors on top. And then for the next idea, I was trying to cover up my scratch paper right there. And as I was doing these trees, I'm using the Sharpie Creative bullet tip marker, and I was realizing this isn't going to look good because the trees I'm covering up aren't going to be all the same size. I didn't really know what I was doing with that. So instead I decided to fill up the entire page, and I was using the bullet tip marker, but then it was a little bit streaky because it's a finer tip than the brush tip. So I pulled out my brush tip pen, my brush tip Sharpie Creative marker, and it worked a lot better, and I filled up that whole page. And it didn't even bleed through to the next page. So then I'm going to use the silver Marvy Deco color and do a tree, just a triangle for the tree. And the inspiration for this one was a sweater that I saw at Walmart, and it was a tree and it said Christmas cheer stacked inside the tree. And so I wanted to try it out with this design. So I'm using the gold for a star and the stump, and then for the words inside, and it is so shiny. I apologize, you can hardly even see it because it is reflecting so bright. It's so shiny. I wrote Christmas cheer on the inside, and I'm trying to find an angle that you can see it on the video because it is just popping right off the page. This next one is a Christmas tag, and the background is plaid Christmas wrapping paper. It's so cute and so fun. For this font, it is a classic calligraphy look. It's called Pinion Script, and this is just a Google font, totally free, linked below. This one is a great one to practice your brush pen calligraphy skills. I'm using the Pentel Touch brush pens here, and the black one is my Tombow Fude in the hard nib, just to try a little variation. For the plaid wrapping paper, I'm using a pinkish red of the zebra mild liner, and these ones, once again, they're a little transparent, and so when you layer them on top of each other, it changes the color. So that's why this really works out perfectly for the plaid. And I'm just doing stripes all the way down and then moving my notebook and doing stripes the other way. And as you can see where it crosses over, it's a little bit darker, and that's what makes plaid really good. So markers that are acrylic and don't have that transparency wouldn't have the same effect as these brush pens do. And then I'm just going in with the fine tip. So that's another reason I love these zebra mild liner pens, because they have the brush tip and the fine tip, and the brush tip is so good, and the fine tip is too. So anyways, using a green fine tip to do the little stripes inside the red stripes. It's such a cute little page of wrapping paper. And now for the tag, I'm using the worksheets that I printed out because I want to glue it on top of my wrapping paper. And to get that nice tan brown look, I'm using my Caron Real Brush Pro marker. I found this perfect craft paper color for my tag. If you have craft paper, you could actually use that instead of coloring it in yourself. I am tracing with my Tombow Fude hard nib. You could freehand it as well. It doesn't have to be exactly like the computer font. That is the beauty of hand lettering. You're doing it by your own hand. I'm all about making things easier for myself during this time of year, and I want to make designs in my journal, and this is an easy way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. This font style is a little different from my regular. I do a little more bouncy, imperfect, quirky, and this is very precise and calligraphy, classic, clean, not bounce lettering at all. And you get to decide for yourself if you like it or not. There are different uses for different styles. And as I'm cutting it out, I'm just going to cut off the little bow on the side because I don't want that on my wrapping paper, but then I still have that hole right there. So I need to figure out a way to cover that up. And this would be different if I was using actual craft paper. It's because I'm using this design that I printed out. When I glue it on, then to cover it up, I'm going to use some washi tape. And the first one I'm using is a little too transparent. I can still see the hole right there. So then I'm adding the glitter washi tape on top, and I love how it looks. It turned out so cute. Let me know if you try this one with the cute wrapping paper. And with this next one, I tried a few variations. I'll tell you which one I like the best. This is another Google font. It's called Lifesavers. It's such a good basic serif font if you want to practice your serif letters. It's almost like a typewriter font, but a little more quirky and curly. And you can do any thickness. So I'm using a few different fine tip pens so you can see that. For this design from the worksheets, it's a thicker weight and the letters are just moved around kind of like a puzzle fitting in together with the stars in between each letter. And I'm using my light board to trace it directly into my journal. And at first it was really dark. I turned on a light so you could see, but when you do a light board, you want the lights off so that you can just see what's underneath. And the light board that I have, it's linked in my Amazon favorites. It's just a really inexpensive one from Amazon. And the trick with this font is to add a slight curve at the tails of each letter. So it's not just a straight 90-degree angle where you're adding the tails. You actually add a little curve. It's very subtle, but I think it makes a big difference. And in the first design, I did black letters and then the gold stars, and it didn't pop enough for me. And so I tried the gold letters with black stars, and I found that I still didn't love it. And I'm showing you all of these because it's so important when you're creating, just try a lot of different things. I don't have all the answers, and actually nobody has the answers. When somebody is creating, you have to make mistakes. That's how you figure out what you like and what you don't like. And so just do what looks good to you, and you'll get better the more you create, the more mistakes you make, the more things that you see. Why don't I quite like this enough? And then try different things, and you might mess it up or you might make it better, but you're not going to know until you actually get creating. So I added silver instead of the black stars, and I actually really liked this one. I think I could still keep trying different things, but I'm happy enough with this one to leave it as it is. And it's a really helpful reminder that we're all just figuring it out. There's no wrong or right way to create. It's just finding what feels good to you. And for this next one, once again, I'm just using the worksheets directly, coloring right on it. I'm doing the candy canes, adding red with the Sharpie Creative markers, and I really like this bright red in the acrylic paint marker. This design is fun because the candy canes make a heart. And then I'm using the Marvy Deco Color in gold, but I'm using the fine tip. I don't use this one as often because I really like the bullet tip. But with this one, the words are smaller, so I needed to use a smaller tip. And I wanted it to be gold because I want that pop of festive gold cheer for Christmas. And this font, once again, is the Lifesavers font. And this one is in a lighter weight, so you can see it changes the style, but it's still a very similar look. But you can do so much with even just one font style. So many different things. And this quote, "Let's stick together like candy canes," this goes out to any parents out there who have kids who love the candy canes, but they only eat a little bit, and then you find it stuck to their clothes later. This is the season of candy canes for kids, and to be honest, I'm not a huge fan. But they do make a super cute heart. And then I'll just glue it into my journal. Super easy, super simple. Got my creating in today. And next we're going to do all of the reindeer names. This one is so fun. This font is called Plaster and it's a Google font. It's a stencil style, so all of the letters are made up with these different shapes, and it's really cool because it's not like you're doing brush pen lettering, but once you get a feel for the shapes that you're making, then it's actually easy to not even trace because you know what shapes you're going to make for each letter. Since I don't want to worry about spacing and lining up things correctly, I am going to trace this one, but I am doing it directly into my journal with my light pad. And I'm just using my black Sharpie Creative bullet tip marker. I am going to do red for Rudolph, of course. One thing about this font, it would not be good for a longer quote, something with a lot of words that you have to read very carefully, because it's not super easy to read this font. It takes a little bit of time. You have to look at the letters. So this one is fun for something like all of the reindeer names, because once someone realizes, oh, Dasher, and then they see Rudolph, they know exactly these are all of the reindeer. And then it's a fun way to make something that is a common words like all of the reindeer names, but do a fun little unique design with them. So just like I said before, there are different uses for different fonts. And I happen to really love this font for this specific design. For this page, I wanted to show you how I would use different styles in one piece. So these are all styles of Noel. I didn't record it. I'm sorry, I was just exploring one day and realized, oh, this would be a fun design to add to the video. And all of these fonts were free-handed, so I didn't trace them. I just looked at the fonts and drew them by hand on this page. You can see that some of them are the ones that you've seen in this video, those specific fonts, and they look a little bit different how I did it because it's not a computer doing this, it was my hand. And so that's what I mean, where you're using the inspiration of the font from the computer, and then you're doing your own thing, giving it a little twist with your own hand. And I'm using my Karen marker Real Brush Pro markers to do the watercolor here. This cannot be done in an Archer and Olive journal. You can't blend like this. So because this is my Bristol smooth paper, I can do this really nice blending. The ink and water stays on top of the paper for a little bit before sinking in. So that's how I can blend it around. And because this is not watercolor paper, it's not going to have the same textured look like a watercolor paper would have. So this is a much smoother look. And what's really cool, because the Marvy Deco Color pen is waterproof, you can go right on top of it. I love how it turns out. I do wipe off the letters at the end because some of the ink just sits on top of the letters, so I just wipe it off. And I love the blended greens on this page, the gold pops of Noel, the different styles, so festive and fun fonts. I hope you like these 10 different ways to fill your notebook for Christmas. If you want ideas to fill your notebook not for Christmas, check out this video here. I'll see you there.